Good morning, Troy here on a follow-up to that pattern making video. Here is the pattern that we made, and this is the leather we're going to use. It is, I believe, a 3 to 4 ounce leather. Nice lightweight leather, easy to work with. So I'm going to hop right into it. Basically, I'm just going to chunk out a piece of this, just roughly. I'm going to cut it a little oversized. If you watched other videos, you remember I always use a good sharp blade. Don't want to hack through it. Okay, so now that we have our piece roughed out and we have a good straight edge to reference off of, I'm going to lay our pattern on here. And cut the other portions. Now we want to try and throw a mark. Oh, we're not squared off. All right, so let's square this off. Oh, not squared off and not parallel. Well, let's just try this again. Get it to where we need it to be to make our lives easier. Okay. That should be a little bit better. Let it pop up right there. Nip it off. So here's what we've got. Put our pattern out on there, and we're just going to roughly trace our reference lines here. To get it rough idea, take our awl, and then we are going to reference our snap holes on the X's. So we've got our thumb cut out, got our snap hole referenced, got our flap and our snap hole referenced on this side. Since we used the Nifty Neat DVD to get these radiuses, I'm simply going to use the same trick. And this is where, like I said, a sharp blade comes in handy. And then same thing on the flap. Let's try not to cut our CD. Generally like to try and make those in one pass, but it doesn't seem to be in the cards today. So there's what we have so far. So now that we've got the basic layout done, what we're going to want to do is try and lay out our fold lines. And I'm going to do that just by putting a few pencil marks. Which should transfer to the leather. Barely see them. I'm just going to quick little mark there, just adds a little scratch. You can see it when you're all done, once you buff things out. Another little scratch. want to try and bend it, put your scratch right directly on the bottom, and tap it down a little bit. Hammer's a little dirty. Okay, so there's one. Fold that out of the way, and I'm gonna lose that line once I fold it over, so we'll do the ruler trick again. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a reference there. And tap it in once again. So as I said before, we made some snap holes. I've got them marked out here. As you've been following along, you know that. We're going to take our punch and punch that out. I always like to have a little piece of buffer leather under there, makes it easier to punch out, but in this case I don't have one, so yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. A little tiny piece will work better than nothing. Much better. So, now you got to be careful when you buy snaps. It's real easy to get a hold of bad snaps. You can get them at your local hobby center. You can get them at the big box stores. You can get them all over the place. Well, at this point, I guess I should back up a little bit. Sewing methods. With a lightweight leather, a really lightweight leather, you can get away with sewing it on a home sewing machine. Otherwise, you can use pricking irons, and you can mark out your stitches and do a saddle stitch. Maybe I'll do that another day. I don't feel like hand sewing today, so I'm going to, of course, use the Sailorite. Okay, so I'm going to use some leather balm with Atom Wax to soak it up a little bit. To apply this, I'm simply going to dab it with some paper towel. Good idea to put your cap on right away. I know you'll need more, but basically what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to dab it at this point. Just kind of soak up the leather. Kind of wipe it in a little after we got it soaked up a little bit. Wax dries relatively quickly. Now that the wax is drying, I got a little divot there from something. I'm just going to kind of buff off a little bit of the excess here. Next, we do our snaps. And we want to put our cap here on the flap. And get our anvil. Comes with the snap kit typically, so I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to use what it came with. The point of this is to try and be able to do this with minimum effort. Just want to kind of wrap it down with enough tension that it won't spin. We don't want to deform it, and then the snap won't work. So next we put in our rear piece on the inside. And flip the anvil over. Give this a quarter turn. And check. It needs a little bit. Actually, what I'm going to do, because I don't like these sticking out like this, I flip it over and I give it a couple little rappy doos to kind of, doesn't really countersink it, but it bends it a little bit, and it also tightens the snap. So there we have that so far. And that's the reason we leave the extra on there, so that we can get this snap to pop apart. Some of these snaps can be really strong. Some are just an absolute joke and don't hold anything at all. Okay, so last we need to stitch our sides, and then we have a small completed wallet. Okay, like I said, you can hand sew this. This weight of leather you would most likely even sew on your home sewing machine with a leather needle. Just take your time. But I've got this, so this is what I use. That is the one bad thing about this machine. I got tension set for other fabrics, so I'll have to buff that out. Just work those scratches out with the back side of your fingernail. You could probably use some kind of tool for this too, but this is what I'm doing. Okay, so there we have our little wallet all set. Now what I'm going to do is give this about an hour to dry. Just kind of buff over it. And as you carry it in your pocket, it will shine up too. I'm getting a little bit of lint off of this here. You won't really get that so much once it dries. So I'm going to call that done. So we'll test fit it here. So I'm able to fit in one card really nicely. A little bit of cash. Let's see how many cards I can find here that don't have information on them. Easily fit 3 cards in the stack of cash in there with no problem. I'm sure it would hold many, many more. But there we have it. Thanks for joining me today. Check us out, jasonponsedge.com. I have a link to my Etsy shop on my homepage. Check out my Etsy shop. That's where I do most of my sales from, and it's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Otherwise, you can always direct message me. I'm on Facebook, Jason Ponsedge. And check out all the merchandise and such that I have listed over the years. Thanks for joining me. Like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you on the next one.